For beginners, it's so important to know how to use functions and formulas in Excel correctly. In this video, I'm going to share with you some of the most common formulas and functions in Excel and how you're going to use them. I'll also share with you some tips and tricks that I've learned along the way to make using these functions and formulas easier and faster. So with that said, let's get started. Here we're going to use this data to practice on. As you'll see, I have a sales by sales representative by region table here that we're going to use as our sample data set in order for me to show you the use of these functions and formulas. You'll see we have a column for sales representative name, the sales representative region, and the May sales dollars. So to begin, when you want to type in a formula in Excel, you first need to start off with the equal sign. Then using your mouse or your arrow keys, you can move around to basically select the cells you want to use in your function or formula. So if I want to add two cells together, all I have to do is type in an equal sign, select the first cell I want to add, put a plus sign, and then select the second cell that I want to add and hit enter. And there it has done the addition, $139,000. As you can see, it's pretty simple to do simple mathematical operations in Excel. So for example, if I wanted to do subtraction, all I'd have to do is hit my equal sign, select the cells that I want. Here I'm arrowing, use the minus sign, arrow to my second cell, hit enter, and there you have this subtraction. For multiplication, you're going to need to use what's called an asterisk sign in order to multiply numbers together. So here I'm going to press equals, select my first cell, hit shift the number 8 to get the asterisk sign, select my second cell, hit enter, and there you have the multiplication. For division, you're going to use a forward slash actually, in order to do division. So here we're going to press equals, select our first cell, the division sign, which is the forward slash, and then your second cell, and there you have it. These two numbers are now divided. You can also use parentheses in order to perform multiple mathematical operations at the same time. For example, let's say I wanted to add and multiply some numbers together. So here I'm going to have an open parentheses, select my first cell, plus sign, second cell, closed parentheses, division sign. I want to divide it by this 67,000, hit enter, and there you have it. This is my result of my mathematical operation. Now let's say you wanted to add up all of these numbers in column C. In order to make this faster, instead of you going one by one and saying equal plus this number, plus sign this number, plus sign this number, we can use an Excel function in order to sum these cells together in one swoop. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is use what's called a sum function to add up all of these numbers in column C. I'm going to do equal sign. I'm going to start typing the word sum. And as you can see, the list of functions pops up. And basically, you can select it with your mouse, or you can use your tab key to select the sum function, then select the cells that you want to sum. So in my case, I'm going to hit tab. It gives me my open parentheses. Then I'm going to select the cells that I want and close the parentheses and hit enter, and it has summed all of the numbers in this column. In this instance, I could also use my arrow keys in order to select the cells in this range. So I could do equals, type the word sum, open parentheses, then use my arrow to go to the first cell, hold down my shift key, arrow up, and then close my parentheses and hit enter. And I get the same result as well. Another way that you can do a sum is by using the autosum button. And for that, you'd go to your formula tab and you'd go to your left to autosum And in this menu, you'll see that there is a sum function. And you can just hit sum and it will sum all the cells above where you indicate autosum. So I could hit enter and there you have the same summation here. Also with autosum, you could change the range by holding down your shift key, arrowing up so that you select only those cells and hit enter. Autosum is also found on the Home tab. If you go to your right, you'll see autosum is here as well. Also, if you hover over the autosum button, you'll see that there is a keyboard shortcut that you could use, which is Alt and equals, in order to autosum any numbers that are above or horizontally to the left, like so. And if I had numbers lined up one next to each other, for instance, if I had these two numbers and I wanted to sum across horizontally, I could do the same thing using Alt and the equal sign, and it sums across as well. So let me go ahead and delete that. Okay, so we now know that the sum function adds up different values that you want to add up in Excel. But let's say you wanted to get a count of different values in Excel. In this case, you'd need a count function. But before we get started in that, let's basically take it back for a second. Let's say you don't even know what the name of the function is that you want to use. You know you want to count up the number of cells, but you don't necessarily know the name of the function that you need to start typing in order to utilize the function. So I'm going to show you basically how you can find any function that you need in order to do what you're trying to do in Excel. So for example, logically speaking, when we were going to do the sum function, you might say, well, the function that I want to use might be called the word add, because I want to add the numbers together. But as you can see, that is not a function here. This is address. We don't need address. We need something that's going to add up the values. When we use the sum function, you see that the definition of it is adds all the numbers in the range of cells. So this is what we need in order to add values. Now, on the Formulas tab, you have a button called Insert Function. So we're going to go ahead and click that. And basically, this is something that you can use in order to find out the name of a function. So let's say I want to add numbers. I'll type add numbers here and click go. And it gives me options of functions that will add up numbers. So here we have sum, and it says it adds all the numbers in a range of cells. This sounds like what we need if we want to add numbers in cells. Okay, so let's click out of here. Okay, so now let's say I wanted to get the average of the values in column C. I'm going to start by typing equals average, and you see I get a list of function options here, and I have average as my first one. Returns the average of its arguments, which can be numbers or name arrays, etc., etc. So I'm going to utilize this function. Hit tab, and I'm going to select my range using my mouse, closing the parentheses, hitting enter, and I have the average of these numbers. I can also get the average by using the autosum function here on the Formulas tab, by selecting this drop down, hitting average, and selecting my range using my mouse and hitting enter. Next, let's say I want to count the number of values in column C. I'm going to type equals, put the word count. It says count counts the number of cells in a range that contain numbers. This works perfectly. I have a range that contains numbers that I want to count. So I'm going to hit tab, select my range with my mouse, close my parentheses, and hit enter. And I have a count of 10. Also, what's nice, if I highlight this range, I can see down here at the bottom right that I have a count of 10. I can also see the average of these numbers and the sum of these numbers simply by highlighting these cells in the range. Now, let's say I wanted to get a count of the number of sales representatives that I have listed in column A. Let's test out this count function and see if it will count the sales representative names. So here I'm going to hit equals, count, tab, select my range, close my parentheses, hit enter, and I get 0. Now, why did I get 0? It's because in this range, it is not using a number or numeric value. It's using text, but the count formula only counts numeric values. If I go back to my function list, I hit equals count, you'll see that it says this function count counts the number of cells in a range that contain numbers. The range we selected does not contain numbers, so therefore it returns 0. So let's look for another count function that will count the cells in column A with the sales representative names. Next on the list, we have count A, and it says that count A counts the number of cells in a range that are not empty. So in other words, it could be any number, any form of text. If there's something in that cell, it will count that cell in the range. It will not count the cell if the cell does not have anything, so if it's blank. So let's give this a try. I'm going to hit tab to select count A. I'm going to select my range, close with the parentheses, hit enter, and I have 10, which is correct. I have 10 sales representative names. Here is the count. Perfect. So the count A function works in that instance. And you'll see that, let's say I delete a name. So let's delete Ronald Birdsong. It reduced to 9. Because why? This cell now has nothing in it, and the function said that it counts all cells that are not empty. So this function is working as it should be. If I put the number 0 here, it will count it. There is something in this cell range, so it's counting that cell. See? All right, so let's undo. Let's do Control Z, and Control Z to get back to where we were. Now let's talk about two other useful functions. Those are the min and max functions. Let's say I wanted to find out the sales rep with the lowest sales dollars in a particular range. I could use the min function in order to find that out. So here I'll type in equals min, and you see it says that min returns the smallest number in a set of values. It ignores logical values and text. So here I'm going to hit tab, select my range, close my parentheses, hit enter, and it gave me 40,500, which is Ronald Birdsong. He has the lowest sales dollars. In a similar way, if I wanted to know the sales rep that had the maximum sales dollars, I could use the max function. Select my range, close my parentheses, hit enter, and there I have the maximum sales dollars, which is this one, Fred Manning. Okay, so now let's say I wanted to do something a little bit more complicated. Let's say I wanted to get the average sales for the sales reps that are in the Southeast region. So to start off, let's type in equals average. And this gives me a list of possible functions that I could use in order to do this. Let's see which one meets our needs the best. So averageif seems like it could meet our needs. It says it finds the average for cells specified by a given condition or criteria. So it will give me the average of cells basically that have a given condition or criteria. The averageifs function seems like it does the same thing. However, this allows me to add more than one condition or criteria to the formula. This would be better to use only because down the road, you might want to have more than one condition or criteria within your formula. You might want it to have additional criterias besides the sales rep being in the Southeast region. In the future, you might want to add additional columns requiring you to have different criterias for your formula. So to be proactive, let's use the averageifs function. So I'm going to hit tab and I'm going to select my range, the average range, which is these dollars, and I'm going to hit a comma and select my criteria range, which is the sales rep region. Then I'm going to hit comma and I'm going to put in quotation marks, type in Southeast. The reason why I use quotation marks is because in Excel, when you're using a function, in order to use words, you need to surround it with quotation marks. Then I'm going to close my parentheses because this is the only criteria that I have, and hit enter. And I get 63,733 as the average of the sales reps that are in the Southeast region. And if I wanted to just do a spot check, I could select all the ones that are in Southeast, which are these three. Select the dollars, and you'll see that I get an average of 63,733. So this function works. Now, I know we went through this kind of fast, but I know I typed in this range for the average range, this range for the criteria 1 range, and this for the criteria. But let's say you're new to Excel and you have no idea what this means, average range, criteria range 1, criteria 1. What you can do is go to your insert function button, which is here, or on the formula tab, it is here. So I can click on this. And what it does is it gives you an idea of what you need to select for each of these function areas. So for average range, here you would basically select the cells that are to be used to find the average. So that's why we selected column C. Here, criteria range 1, this is the range of cells you want evaluated for the particular condition. So our condition will be evaluated here. Our condition was that we wanted sales reps in the Southeast region. Then here we want to type in the actual condition or criteria in the form of number, expression, or text that defines what each cell will be used to find the average. So this is basically what we'll be looking for in order to find the average. So in that case, we're using Southeast. And as you can see, once we've selected all the things, it gives us a total here, or an average, I should say. And this is basically giving me an indication that this function is actually working because it's giving me a result. So in this case, we can hit OK, and there you have it. So in the instance where you don't know what these different criterias are for a function, you can simply go to the insert function and basically click in each one and learn what it is used for to know what to select. And so that's it for the introduction to the most common formulas and functions in Excel. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and do subscribe to this channel. We would love to have you as part of our community. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.